All right. Hello, everybody. If you are joining, type down below. If you are live, type down below. If you're joining later on, if this is a recording and you're just seeing it later on, type down there below. What's up, Ryan? All right, so I'm just going to just give us a couple of minutes here, but Andrea, how you doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good afternoon, everybody, depending on where you're at. I assume it's somewhat kind of close to Mountain Standard Time if you're watching this live. If you are, again, joining the replay, type out replay below. Let me know where you're at. Let me know. All right, all right. So we'll get started here in just a minute here. Okay. Okay. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good afternoon. I'm Mike David, and today's topic, I wanted to do a live training on why am I not losing weight? And I thought today would be a really good, important topic to go over some really important reasons as to why you may not be, and some of the benefits that are going to actually you're going to see as far as what you can possibly do with that, and some solutions and things that you may not have considered before, maybe some things you may have tried, but we're going to touch on that a little bit more in depth and whatnot. So just going to do a share screen here so you guys can see what we're going to talk about here. Just one sec. There we are. Everybody good? Give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen. Okay, perfect. So again, we're going to talk about why I'm not losing weight and how to improve your weight loss journey. Okay, perfect. You guys can see it okay? Awesome. All right. Now, there's many different variables as to why you might not be losing weight and why you're probably not getting the results that you're looking for and whatnot. So a lot of it is going to have to do with, identifying those particular areas. So try to improve your results because you're not losing any weight is a lot like calling a mechanic and asking him how to fix your car because it's simply just not working. There's a lot of different variables to this equation and a lot of different factors that really go into it, but you need to really do your best to identify where the breakdown is happening as to why it's not working, what you've tried, why it's not working, and kind of go from there and assess from there. You kind of need to do a little bit of due diligence and really kind of, figure it out a little bit more as you go along here. So there's many different parts of your health and fitness program that could definitely need some tweaks, adjustments, and need a tune-up in a sense, okay? So there's multiple components of each part that could also need some tweaks, adjustments, and some tune-ups with that as well. You need to identify which is which. So again, there's many different components as to why you might not be getting the results you're getting, or maybe you've had some short-term results and you're just getting frustrated and you're not seeing the long-term aspect of it. So we're going to touch on that as well going forward here. So I just wanted to just kind of give you a brief scope of what that's kind of going to look like here. All right. So your main bread and butter with any fitness program should ideally look like this. Okay. So your health and fitness vehicle is essentially going to have a component of your diet plan, your exercise program, accountability, consistency, and sustainable results. Now, you'll notice that number one is the diet plan. The diet plan is 100% the most important factor in any program. It should be, because there's really no getting around that. You could do the best exercises and you could do the best weight program and whatever, and you're sweating and you're doing all this crazy stuff. But essentially, if your diet is not on point, it's like putting gasoline into a tank that's got a big giant hole in it, and you're just going to be going in circles and circles and circles and so forth. Okay. Your exercise program should definitely be a big challenge, should definitely be something that you can follow, something that is challenging enough that you're going to see results, some challenging enough that there is a slight discomfort with that, because when you're uncomfortable is where you're going to see change. When you're uncomfortable is when you're going to see growth. Okay. Your comfort zone is where you are most uncomfortable, as Tony Robbins has mentioned. Okay. That basically means that when you stay inside your comfort zone, you are not going to see change. You're not going to see growth. So your exercise program needs to be something that fits around your lifestyle, fits around your specific preferences and needs, but it also needs to be challenging enough that you're going to actually see growth. Accountability is a big factor here. This is what a lot of people lack. A lot of people really lack this because they don't have anybody in their corner. They don't have anybody pushing them. They don't have anybody guiding them. They don't have anybody correcting them. They don't have anybody to properly, change things up. And this is a big one that a lot of people lack. So, and this is what kind of leads to number 4 is consistency. So when you're lacking one of those of the 3, consistency tends to kind of fall off the wagon a little bit, tends to kind of fall off track. So that being said, hey Barb, what's up? So with that being said, this is the main the main 4 components that if you don't see, the results in one of these 3 and you're not sticking with that, then consistency is going to fall off track. Consistency is the key here, okay? In order to see sustainable results. Sustainable results meaning like you didn't just see short-term results, go back to your regular eating, and then all of a sudden you are just back to square one again. Because that's typically what happens with a lot of people that I'm finding, and a lot of people are just getting frustrated with that, and then they just give up entirely. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about that as well here. Barb, figuring out why it's yes, absolutely. Insanity, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Barb, because that's something I'm going to definitely talk about as well. Because yeah, it's good that you brought that up, because that's definitely something that I've actually been hearing about quite frequently. And yeah, we're gonna definitely get to that. So the weight loss struggle is real here, guys. I mean, everybody struggles with it from time to time. And the most common things that I definitely hear, and these aren't just, there's obviously a lot more struggles with this, but these are just some of the ones that I frequently hear. You've lost some weight before, but the plan was too intense and you hated it. Okay. Your dating life is not going well and you don't feel confident, you don't feel good, you're low self-esteem, you don't like the way you look in the mirror. And as a result, you're eating comfort food out of depression to kind of take care of those, icky, gross feelings of just feeling like you're not feeling good, right? So that's very common. Or maybe you started a program and gave up a month or less into it, which is a very common thing too, a very common thing that I frequently hear. Or maybe you're just sick and tired of not having consistent structure and motivation. Okay. So if you've said yes to pretty well any of these things, well, you're definitely not alone here. Okay. Andrea, pasta is great. Yes, I know pasta's great. Yes, we know. What's up, Sean? So the best way to achieve and maintain your results. Okay. So these are just some important factors of this particular system that I'm going to go through and that I've kind of touched on a little bit. So by learning the principles of this system, you will never have to buy another workout or nutrition plan again, have to hire another trainer again, have to worry about poor health again, or have to worry about your appearance again. Maybe you're not liking again what you're seeing in the mirror. You're feeling like, hey, you know what? Like this has been dragging out for so long, and then you're suffering brutal diets or starving yourself or eating garbage food because you feel like it's healthy and you have to. and you're still seeing minimal short-term progress again. Okay, that is not fun, guys. Believe me, that's not fun, and nobody wants to do that. And I think that's what really deters people from really sticking to a program as well, is because of what I just mentioned. And people are just tired of the fads, the fad diets, what's something that maybe worked for their neighbor, and then they try it and they get the opposite of results. And that's typically what happens. Or maybe they've tried the shake diet and we're just living on smoothies for 30 days. That's not fun either. And that should not happen in any program, period. Unless you really like that thing, then hey, props to you, right? So, hey, Sean, what's up? Go, let's go. Yes, absolutely. All right, so we're going to start again from the diet plan. Number one, okay, as I mentioned before, it really starts from the bottom and it bottoms out from the bottom end, which is your diet plan or meal plan or nutrition plan, whatever you want to call it. Okay, I typically don't like to say diet plan, but just to kind of give everybody a scope of what I'm talking about, because diets just typically sound very restrictive, and I don't really like to use that term very much. But your diet plan or your meal plan really needs to be in check. There's really no other way to get around it. It needs to be realistic so you'll stick with it. And it needs to be tailored and specifically to you, your lifestyle, your preferences, in order for you to really stick with it. So you need to avoid restricting the foods you actually love and learn the core fundamentals in order for this to work. There's a proper way for this to work, and there's a proper way to do it without having to restrict all the foods you love. And are you getting enough of the right calories each day? Now, it doesn't mean are you getting enough calories each day, because it doesn't necessarily mean that or matter that you are getting the right amount of calories each day in a sense. Now, what I mean by that is if you are, let's say, eating an 1,800 calorie meal every single day, and most of that is pasta, right? If you're eating pasta and that's the one meal or two meal a day thing that you're having and you're not getting results, well, that's pretty obvious with that one. I mean, yes, you're eating a lower calorie diet, but at the same time, you're not getting the right calories because it's pasta, for crying out loud. It's one of those things that it's not the right type of calories that you're going to be requiring for your daily requirements. Okay. All right. Okay. So with that being said, you got to make sure that you're getting the right amount of calories, or sorry, the right calories, and not just the right amount of calories. There's a big difference here, a very big difference at bay here that has, it is so important and so fundamental that you have to understand that. And I think that's where a lot of people lack, is because they seem to think that if they're getting a certain number of calories, but it doesn't really matter what they're eating, that they're going to be fine and lose weight long term. And that's just false. You might see very, very minimal with that, but you're going to plateau and you could possibly gain all the weight back, if not more. Okay. Now, your exercise program. So you have to ask yourself, okay, with any type of program, does your exercise program, does it fit around your schedule? Does it fit around your lifestyle? Okay. Is there enough structure, or is it challenging enough for you? All right. Is it tailored and adjusted to your preference so you can continue to enjoy it and feel great? Is it something that you feel like you could stick to and it's challenging enough that you actually feel good doing it? Or is it something you absolutely just hate doing and you're doing it just for the sake of it? Okay. It's something you got to really ask yourself here, because this is the key that's going to help you actually stick with something that you really like, stick with something that you're going to be looking forward to actually doing, and actually notice the results at the same time. All right. Accountability. This is huge, guys. Okay. Accountability is so critical in a fitness program, any type of health or fitness program that you're going to be into, because you got to have somebody that's, especially if you're starting out and you're novice or you're green, or maybe you just want to get back on track and need somebody to kind of help you. Do you have anyone in your corner pushing and coaching you? Okay. Is anyone making adjustments to both your meal and exercise programs along the way, so you can continue to see results while changing it up? Okay. And are you being guided in the right direction to reach your goals? See, and this is where typically a lot of programs fail, because they don't have that accountability. Like, who is actually calling you? Like, Barb, you mentioned the insanity workout. Well, who's calling you to make sure you're doing the workouts? Are you doing that DVD, Barb? Are you doing that DVD? Nobody's actually going to be doing that. And are they making changes to it constantly for you to actually see the benefits and actually see the results, right? So in a sense, if you're not getting that, then you're just setting yourself up for failure, because it's a lot harder to be doing this on your own. It's going to take you a lot longer. And to try to figure it all out with all the vast information out there on the internet, it's insane to try and figure this out on your own, because you're just going to be driving yourself and spinning your wheels, and it's not fun. And this is very, very common as to why people fall off and just are not losing weight, or they flat out plateau. Okay. And consistency is the key, people. It's critical to be consistent with it. Okay. Repetition is the mother of skill, and anything you learn to do well gets rewarded and gets repeated. Okay. You need to develop a routine early on. Okay. You got to create positive habits that are going to be surrounded by that routine. You got to make sure that you are, creating positive, good habits that are going to be surrounding that routine each day. Okay. You got to have a winning mindset. It's really up here that's going to get you through those days on when you don't feel like doing it, or you just want to chill and watch Netflix and do nothing, which is okay too, because believe me, I have those days too. But are you doing it on the days where you just really don't, when you know you should, is when you should be doing it more? Because those are the days where you're going to see growth. You're going to see a lot more change. You're going to feel a lot more positive habits forming, because you're doing it on those days when you don't want to do it. That's where growth happens. That's where change happens. Okay. All right. And so it really boils down to your why. On those days when you don't really feel like doing it, I would strongly suggest, looking at things that maybe you wrote down, your goals, or look at pictures that maybe you had 5 or 10 years ago, rocking a bikini, or you rocked into a really good business suit and you want to fit back into it, or your board shorts, guys. You want to look good for the beach and you want to rock your abs again, but you're too shy and too embarrassed to take your shirt off. Well, look at those pictures on those days when you don't feel like doing it, and remember your why, because that's going to help you through getting through, and then it'll help you repeat the process. So rinse, recycle, repeat. Consistency is the key, guys. Okay. Especially on those days when you don't want to do it is when you should be doing it even more. All right. Now, I have a huge announcement to make. So I just wanted to just kind of touch on this first. So those of you who don't know me, I've got about 20 years now. Yeah, just about over 20 years now, since 2002, of health and fitness and nutrition experience. All right. Now, when I first started, I was very novice. I was very green. I think I weighed maybe about just under $150 when I first started. All right. And I didn't know anything about it. But once I started really kind of developing it, and I came from a very skinny, very kind of, frame, if you will. I was bullied for a little bit there back in my school days. So I just came into it, was just like, I need to change. I need to do something about this. I'm ready. Like, let's do this. And it was the game changer for me. I never looked back. I mean, it not only helped me physically, but it helped me emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. And it just transitioned into other areas of my life, because I figured, hey, if I can tackle this goal and reach this, then there's nothing else I can't do. And it just kind of transitioned into other areas of my life, into school, career, and all that good stuff. So, fitness for me, it's kind of like when I work out, everything works out. And you view the world differently when you have a great workout. At least it's been that way in my experience, and it's been that way for a lot of my clients, and I'm super proud of. So it also transitioned into, like, later on down the road, I won a competition in Muscle Beach there several years ago. And since then, I've been coaching and helping a lot of men and women with various lifestyle and health needs, including vegans, vegetarians, gluten-free diets, carnivores, people with some injuries, sports accidents, you name it. Okay. And during my college years, I've also worked in a professional naturopathic health clinic, which really, really helped my knowledge and expertise in a lot of naturopathic health. So it was just a huge plus. It was just, I never wanted to stop growing, never wanted to stop learning. And it just really was a huge opener, an eye opener for me. And in the last few years, I've invested about $20,000 or more in my own education. certification, and coaching of health and fitness. Like I say, guys, like growth is never ending for me. I'm always trying to be learning, always trying to be growing. You know, life is change, growth is optional. You know, that's it really is that way. And it's allowing me to help people a lot more and really focus my attention on a lot more growth and change for you, really, essentially. It really helps me to kind of keep growing and keep learning, all to everybody's benefit, right? So who this is for is people who really want to have long-term sustainable health and fitness success that can help you reach your life goals, all right? And people who want to make change in their life but need personalized guidance, support, and accountability to actually make it happen, because that's really going to be the difference that makes the difference, essentially, all right? I'm looking for, at the end of the day, I'm really, you know, looking for people who want to be coached, who actually want to really say enough's enough. I'm tired of like hitting the wall, metaphorically speaking, and like I want change and are actually willing to make it happen. All right. Now, who this is not for is people who are not action takers or don't care about their health enough to step it up. All right. People who give up at the first sign of a challenge, or people with a victim mentality who make excuses and always look for reasons why they can't. Okay. If you have a victim mentality, this isn't going to be the program for you. There's really not a whole lot I can do for you unless you really want to step it up and say enough's enough and really, you know, be the game changer in your own life. You got to participate in your own rescue. Have to. Okay. So the results speak for themselves. Okay. Sean, I'm sure if you're still there, I'm sure you can you can see some of the results there. Sean, for example, there last summer lost 50 freaking pounds in about 3 months. Yeah, 12 weeks. And he was dedicated. He was a prime example of somebody who hit the wall, metaphorically speaking. He's tried every type of diet, workout plan out there. And then he just said, enough's enough. And he had it. He was just like, you know what? Like I'm over this. I'm ready to actually finally get back in shape. And he did, and he looked amazing. So Barb. Well, Barb, we can maybe fix that if you're interested. We can talk about that. So the results really speak for themselves. And then Peter was another case who had also tried many different diets. Okay. Mainly the one that really stood out to me with Peter was he tried the keto diet, and he got some short-term results, did it for a while, and he ended up gaining all the weight back when he went back to regular eating. So, I mean, not to knock keto, because I know some people who like it and some people who just hate it. So it's either it's a love and hate thing with keto. But from what I've found and from a lot of clients that have talked to me about it, it hasn't really worked for them. And it's really designed, from what I see, to be short-term, not long-term results, because there's just too much of a yo-yo effect, because it's not realistic or sustainable, because you're cutting out and restricting too many foods that you love, and carbs are great. We all love carbs, but if you do it right, you can enjoy carbs and still get results. Okay. And then Cassandra here in the bottom lost 20 pounds in 2 months. Okay. She worked her ass off. I'm super proud of her. And she was consistent throughout the whole program. So, hey, Telly, what's up? Don't worry, it's recorded. You can see it after. All right. So if you want to lose weight and keep it off long term, okay, if you want to, you know, have a customized diet plan or meal plan, an exercise program that's tailored to your needs and to your specific lifestyle and your schedule and your preference, okay, and receive accountability as you develop new habits going forward, send me a DM or drop me a hashtag me below. And if you're interested, I'm limiting it to the first 5 people. There will be discounts. So you guys let me know in the comments down there below if you're interested. I'd love to help you out. I'd love to talk to you. And then we could set up a call and kind of go from there and see, you know, where you're at, where you'd like to be, and offer some solutions, and we can go from there. So other than that, that's pretty well all I have for you guys. And do you guys have any questions or anything? If you have any questions, type them out there below, and we'll go from there. Let me just review the comments here and see. Barb, you did keto too. Sorry, I missed that one earlier. Yeah, and what was your results with the keto, Barb? Just curious. So you lost 30 pounds in 3 months, Barb. Wow. But then you gained it back. Now, can I ask what time frame did you gain it all back? Was it like another 3 months? Because you don't work out. Okay. Well, here's the thing with if you're losing results, sorry, if you're gaining results from, well, you gained it back in 3 months. So if you're getting results from diet alone, you will get results. I mean, it'll work a lot better when you are working out because you're going to be increasing your metabolism. And depending on the level of intensity of your workouts, you will like notice more muscle tone because when you start, for example, if you do resistance training, any type of like weight training, cables training, anything that's going to be resistance, where it's going to put on some muscle tone, it's going to increase your results a lot faster because you're putting muscle tone underneath fat tissue, and it's going to not only speed up your metabolism, burn fat, but it's going to put on muscle tissue underneath and dissolve that fat a lot better, right? So it's ideally, and it's going to shape and tone your muscles a lot better than just diet alone. Diet alone, you will get results, but it's a lot better if you just have something that's more sustainable, when you combine both of them. Like diet and exercise both will definitely do that for sure. No, 100%. Yeah, no, I agree. So if to have something that can be consistent with is the better way to go, because keto is generally short term unless you plan on going no carb or very, very little carbs for the rest of your life, which isn't fun because a lot of people, once they go back on carbs, then they gain it all back. And then water retention happens, especially primarily for women. I've noticed, and it's just one of those things where it's inevitable. So, Andrea, what's your take on intermittent fasting? Yeah, good question. So I like it. I've done it before, and it's good for people who have a very busy schedule. I mean, it's an 8-hour window with a 60. For those of you who don't know, it's 16 hours of just water, maybe a little bit of black coffee, of fasting. And then you have an 8-hour window of eating your portion of calories. And then you go back the next day and you do 16 hours. So, I mean, essentially it can be effective. Essentially it can be good for people who are busy. For me, I don't like to do it long-term just because, I mean, I like to keep up my proteins and I like to keep up my foods and maintain that for myself personally. It doesn't work for me a whole lot, but I mean, I've done it before and I've had some results with it. So I'm not against intermittent fasting. It just depends on your schedule and your lifestyle, but it can be effective provided that you are getting those calories in that particular day as well. If it's in that 8-hour window, that's great. It doesn't really matter necessarily. Okay. Diana, consistency is key. Routine regimen, maintenance brings success. Absolutely. Glad to see you. Glad to hear you join us. So let me just retract through some of these comments here, see if I missed any questions here. I know I was kind of rambling on there for a little bit, guys. So Barb, you mentioned that you and your sister did it together and held each other accountable, but it was hard. We've never wanted to work out. Now, was that with the keto you meant, Barb? What's the best way to fight cravings? Great question. It depends on your craving. So most people, will have either a sugar or salt craving. For me, I crave a lot more salts than anything. And, sometimes I'll have especially before bed, like it seems at nighttime for me, like I'll have a scoop of peanut butter before bed and a protein shake, and that usually takes care of it. A protein shake is not going to make you fat. It's not going to, especially for women, like it's not going to make you bulky or anything like that. You're not going to be jacked from protein, especially a protein shake, which is a leaner, pre-digested protein. And I did a content on this a couple of weeks ago about that, but it basically is going to help you to, balance out a lot of your carbs, a lot of your sugars, fats, and things like that, because it's lean protein and it's not going to make you fat, especially when you're consistently having a good workout schedule and diet along with it. So that being said, that's a good way to satisfy cravings, and that's something that is pretty known for that. And if it fills you up to the point where you eliminate your hunger a lot with that. So hope that makes sense. Yes, D. I'm all about the clean vegan protein myself too. I mean, whey is pretty good, but some people have a little bit of a sensitivity to it. I personally like my vegan protein myself, so it's something that I've changed over for the last few years, and I haven't really looked back. So it all just depends on personal preference. It all depends on your choice of proteins and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, whey is just as good for some people, but I prefer obviously the vegetarian kind. I find it's a little bit cleaner for myself, the one that I use anyway. So yeah. Any other questions, guys? Nice, nice. Cool. Let me just go back and see if there's any other questions here. Andrea, what if you don't cook? Well, if you don't cook, and this is a big one for people too, like if you have a specified meal plan and you don't cook, and let's say you have a busy schedule or you just don't have time to cook or you don't like to cook, okay, there's also meal prep companies available that will actually do the meal prepping for you. It's a little bit more than probably, I would say, a week's worth of groceries, but it's well worth it. They prepare it for you. It's in those little dishes. It's all separated and sorted out for you and organized. And you just reheat them up in your fridge, from your fridge to your microwave or in your stove or whatever, and you're good to go. So that's a good alternative for people who are very busy and just don't have time to cook or just are not good cooks. So that's always an alternative too. Particularly, hopefully, if it's in your area, if you're in an area that actually has a meal prep company, it's definitely effective, and I do strongly recommend that as well. So that being said, it's definitely worth it if you are strapped for time, and just basically half the battle is pretty well done for you. But and you give them the actual meal plan. Most of the time they will customize something for you. So just an FYI. Yeah, have a good one, D. Anybody else? Any other questions? How much cardio should you do? It's not really a matter. Well, it depends on your goals. It depends on where you're at. So essentially, if you're trying to put on some muscle tone and you're trying to burn fat at the same time, and you're trying to burn calories, if you're going for endurance and you're just going for you're trying to boost your endurance to run a triathlon athlete or the triathlon athlete type marathon or something like that, you're not really caring too much about muscle tone, then you can do like your cardio before your weights. But essentially a 5 to 10 minute warm up is good, and then your cardio should always be done after your weights. Now that can range for some people 20 minutes, half an hour. I'd say no more than 45, if you're really trying to go, because you don't want to be burning muscle either. Too much cardio can actually burn muscle. So if you're trying to put on some muscle tone, do your weights first and then do your cardio last. And make sure your diet is in check and your calories are in check, because essentially you don't want to be killing off all your gains by just running a marathon and just you're burning muscle at the same time too, right? Because that's critical too. Like there's a big difference between burning fat and losing weight, because losing weight could just be water retention. It can be, but burning fat is where you actually notice it inches off your waist, and the scale can kind of fluctuate a little bit with that. So cardio, it really varies. It really depends on where you're at and your goals and the type of program that you're in too, right? So it will vary for that. You're welcome. All right. Any other questions, guys? Well, Ryan had a question earlier. I think I missed it though. He said something about he's on the Liver King for the past 3 days. What's your take on it? I'm not really sure what Liver King is. Can you elaborate on that, Ryan, if you're still around? All right, guys. If there's no other questions, I'm going to wrap this up. So hope that makes sense. Hope you got some value out of that. Let me know down there below if you are catching the replay. If you have any questions or you would like to inquire a little bit more, hit me up with a DM or type out #me down there below. And again, I'm offering this to the first 5 people who are interested and are looking to obviously lose weight, tone up, and get in a better shape without having to, go through the struggles that are very common that people are obviously really struggling with. And hope that makes sense. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Otherwise, I will talk to you in the next video and hope everyone is well. Thanks. Thanks, Barb. Take care, guys.